meeting to order of the Compensation Committee.
All
Teresa,
right.
will you call the roll?
Mayor Weiss, Mayor Kumar,
Here.
and Ms. Moss.
Here.
We have 2 committee members present.
Perfect. Our purpose today is we need to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public official. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I
Okay.
second it.
Mayor second. Mayor Kumar, Ms. Moss, first and second. We have 2 ayes and none opposed.
Hey.
All right, so we're going to go into the back room, and then we'll come back
Okay,
up.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay, we can pause the stream now, or they're going to be
Compensation Committee is coming out of executive session. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
I second it. Teresa, will you call the roll?
Okay, Mayor Kumar
Yes.
and Ms. Moss.
Yes.
We have 2 ayes and none opposed.
At this time, we have nothing to report. And is there a motion to adjourn? I second it. We're adjourned. Out of executive session, is there a motion?
I will disconnect.
Look at that.
I was doing a test. All right.
Okay. Oh, Kumar's next. Kumar, you're up next.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'd like to convene the RTA Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee. Teresa, if you could call roll, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Here?
Ms. Moss,
Here.
Mr. Joyce.
Here.
Ms. Mersman,
Here.
and Mayor Weiss is not here. We have 4 committee members present.
Thank you. Item number 2 is an executive session is requested to discuss the results of the 2022 audit by the auditor of the state. Is there a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Ms. Moss.
Yes.
Mr. Joyce.
Yes.
Ms. Mersman,
Yes.
and Mayor Weiss. We have 4 ayes and none opposed.
Great. At this point, in addition to, would like to invite all board members to the executive session, CEO, General Manager Birdsong Terry. Who else would you like present?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mayor Kumar. We will retain the deputy general managers as well as Tony Garofoli for audit for the conference. Thank you.
Thank you. And, or we will be meeting in here, correct? If I could ask all others to leave the room at this time? Thank you. Ready to go, Teresa?
Okay, yes, if you want to ask
Is
for.
there a motion to adjourn the executive session?
Adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Ms. Moss? Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
And Ms. Merschman?
Yes.
We have 4 ayes and none opposed.
Great. The next item on our agenda is the internal audit quarterly report. This would be presentation of the first quarter of 2023 audit work. And Tony Garofoli, Internal Audit Executive Director, will be presenting.
Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the Audit Committee, Board of Trustees, and Executive Management Team. For the record, my name is Anthony Garofoli. I'm the Executive Director of Internal Audit. I'm here to present the results of the Internal Audit Department activities for the first quarter of 2023. Please refer to the report distributed prior to this meeting. This report. On May the 9th, 2023, we presented these activities in detail with the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary. On pages 3 through 5 of this report, our plan is our internal audit plan referred by the Audit Committee to the full board and approved in the March 2023 meeting. Per our professional auditing standards, the plan is aligned with the RTA's strategic plan and performance metrics, including customer experience, community value, financial sustainability, and employee engagement. We continue to execute the risk-based plan. Also, per our professional standards, the audit staff executed annual independence and objectivity statements, indicating they can carry out their work freely and objectively, and recommitted to following our professional code of ethics. Moving on to pages 6 and 7, please find the results of 3 audit projects completed during the first quarter per our audit plan. These projects are employee travel expense and requests, the Federal Transit Administration post-delivery Buy America review of 20 compressed natural gas vehicle coaches for the Triscuit District, and the Public Transit Agency Safety Plan audit of the drug and alcohol program. We met with management, received their responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We'll track the implementation of the recommendations within our audit management software. There are no issues for board consideration. On pages 8 through 12, please find the results of our continuous auditing program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% audits of the transactions. During the quarter, we looked at the fare collection systems, purchasing card transactions, paratransit certification eligibility database, a review of the nepotism code of ethics policy, and we have started our continuous auditing of the payroll. We shared results with appropriate stakeholders. There were no issues for board consideration. On pages 13 through 21 are 22 different projects in various stages of completion, all projects in progress. Please note we added updates to provide our readers transparency and information status. This section includes projects where fieldwork is complete and where we are waiting for management responses to release the report, which is our standard process, and projects we are actively completing. I'll report out on these projects at the next audit committee meeting that is scheduled for August of 2023. On page 22, please find the details and results of special requests and emerging issues. We are completing these projects in our role as Inspector General for the authority. We did receive several tips in compatible employment, bus operator revenue collection, and some mileage reimbursement. These reviews are almost complete, and we'll report these results to the audit committee in the August meeting. Page 23 is our efforts to work with external auditors. The state auditor completed the field work and the review of the 22 financial and single audit. They relied on the work of internal audit for several analyses. You heard the results of their work this morning in executive session. The Federal Transit Administration completed the triennial review during the first quarter to evaluate compliance with regulations and implementation of FTA grant programs, including 23 areas of program compliance. Management is addressing those issues. A draft report was released. A final report is due during the next quarter. The remainder of the report is informational. We continue to follow up on all audit recommendations to validate corrective actions are implemented. We participated in several steering committee meetings and learned to share our risk management strategies. On page 28 is the training staff attended during the quarter, and the last page is our staff profiles. I'll be happy to answer any questions from the committee or board members.
Any questions from the board, comments from management?
Just a quick comment on behalf of management. I just wanted to say thank you to Tony and his team. We've been working really closely as always, but it seems like working pretty hard over the last few quarters here, and always had notification early, and in some cases on time when we have such a lot of things up in the air. So many balls going on. So the items mentioned of any fraud or risk are always elevated to my attention, as well as any staff members, to make sure that we can remediate those things. And so I appreciate that. I know that Tony's team is relatively young in their careers, and they've been doing a great job of being able to be transparent with management. So thank you.
And I would echo that we have set up, quarterly committee meetings to review this in advance in more detail, and any of you obviously are welcome to attend those meetings, but I think from a flow of communication, that's been very helpful. Okay. If there are no other items, any other comments, Tony?
None for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Okay. In that case, we will adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion? I guess. Do I need a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Now we're adjourned.
Okay, we need to get the gavel to Mayor Biassiata is next.
There we go. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Calling the meeting of the RTA Organizational Services and Performance Monitor Committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Ms. Moss. Mayor Weiss and Ms. Welch. We have 3 committee members present.
Fantastic. On today's agenda, we're going to go over our results reporting. We're going to review our first quarter 2023 scorecards and customer experience survey. And I'm going to give the podium to Ms. Bergsong-Terry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just as a matter of note for the record, to my left is not Flonse Caver. However, they do look quite a bit alike. They're twins, in fact. We've got Nick Bigger, who's the district director for Hayden, standing in for Doc, who is out sick. So just wanted to put that out there for the record as well. I do have a partners in crime here. I just wanted to make a quick amendment to the slide you have in front of you. As many have noticed, we have a lot of plane and travel delays in flight travel this morning for folks coming into the Cleveland area. So we have a little bit of a change. We do have Aaron Bingaman, who is to my rear left here, who is a managing principal for TransPro. You probably recognize his face. He usually reports along with me in the quarterly reports for Traction. We also have Luke Allison, who is here behind me here, also from TransPro, who is the wizard behind the numbers and being able to kind of help us stay in line as far as report out metrics. Dr. James Rubin was caught in Newark and was not able to make it today. He did a yeoman's job of almost staying overnight trying to get here, but was not able to make it. So he should be virtual with us. In case there are any questions, we'll be able to go through as a team today. I wanted to be able to give you a update. We are reporting to you this month. Normally, we would have reported to you in the past month. However, we wanted to make sure that we could really get into the details and have a little bit of a change in format for our monthly meeting at the tactical level. We've changed that to really put a little bit of onus on some of these metrics with our district directors and also senior management level. So we've adjusted that and fell in line along with our auditing structure to bring those reports to you this month. So we'll get back on track to the regular schedule upcoming in the third quarter. We will be reporting, as always, 3 months in arrears. So we're reporting quarter one statistics to you today, and you see the cadence in front of you here. All right, so getting into the success outcomes that we've got, we always remind you that we've got 4 buckets, so to speak. We've got customer experience, and I'll try to be as quickly as I can. I know we've got 2 new board members as well, so I will try to go over it a little bit more detail without boring you to tears here. Customer experience, community value, financial sustainability, and employee engagement. Those are the 4 in the bolded column you see to the left. Those are the agreed upon areas of focus for RTA that we have decided to really assign our success definitions to and our status to. We have metrics that fall in each 4 of those areas, and those are the top 4 areas of focus for our agency and our management leadership team. You'll see what's called a Net Promoter Score. That's what I like to call something akin to our Yelp review for transit. How likely are you to recommend us to someone else? How happy are you? That kind of thing. We notice that a lot of our customers are coming to us by word of mouth, in addition to just general experience. So that's what that means there. That is probably the hardest to attain because a lot of that depends on opinion. And you can have a good or a bad day in transit, as we all know. I just mentioned the flight delay, right? That's still mobility, so that's part of that. You'll see as you go through your packets that our additional detail gives you a lot more. You'll see a document like this at your dais there. That is, you can read at your leisure, but today is a summary of those items. We also have the community value score. That's kind of what our investment back into the community is. We wanted to really tie back into our mission and vision, and that's how valuable our community views us. And that's when we get into transit-oriented development. That's when we get into equity and major projects within EJ communities. That's a really important part as well. All of our capital projects tie back into how we are looked at by the community and if we really are an economic driver within Greater Cleveland. Also, financial stability, that one speaks for itself. You'll see something on here that we decided to keep. It's the $10 million transfer into the capital and reserve. That's what's funding our rail car project. That's almost a no-brainer. That's something we have to make sure we do every year. We wanted to make sure we didn't let it slip, so we are working with Transpro to reduce the calculation behind that so that we don't get credit for things that we know we have to do, but we don't want to let it slip, so we keep it up there as well. We also have competitive grants. We have a goal for that. You'll see that, the $35 million. And then we have employee engagement. And of course, that's self-explanatory as well. But we are going to go into a little bit of a detail today for the vacancy fill rate. And that's basically our operator shortfall, as well as other areas of the business. That one is really important, not to say the others are not, but if we don't have enough manpower, we don't have enough bodies, we don't have a service. And that's really important as well. So we noticed that we were lacking in that. A lot of companies throughout the country, as you know, are struggling to be able to fill their vacancies. We are no different. However, what will make us different is our approach to be able to fill those vacancies and work outside of the box, so to speak, to make sure that we get those vacancies filled ASAP. We cannot drive a bus from home. So we have to make sure that we get those shored up right away. We're currently in George, who should be, there you go, behind me, George Fields in HR. Our vacancy was around 144 operators. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay. So that's our shortfall that we're dealing with. I want to make sure that as a board you understand that that is, to me, a 4-alarm fire. Having an operations background, you don't have to have that to know that you've got to be able to have those folks to drive the buses and the trains. Without that, we end up cutting service. We're not in that area yet as a means to officially cutting any service, but we notice that every now and then we have to cut a run, so to speak, that we may increase the travel time for a customer, and we may not know that until the day of. So that puts us in emergency mode. And what that means is we're working extraordinarily diligently, and that's a nice way of putting it, to make sure that we are going to different areas that we don't normally stoke the fire for new employees. So new communities that may not have seen us before, making sure that we are competitive in our rate for salaries, making sure that people understand what our benefit package is in our, understanding that we have a lot of opportunities here that we may not be as vocal about. Now is the time. So that being said, I am going to hand it over to George for a few minutes here to be able to talk through some of the things that we're doing and some of the successes that we have seen. I will say that we also have reallocated some resources within our operational division to be over in HR temporarily. So that was, I'm not sure if he's in the audience here, Alroy Gibson is such a manager that came from paratransit and is on loan, so to speak, over to the HR division. He is an example of someone who understands what we need from operations, and now he is part of the HR division for the foreseeable, there he is, future, along with Ida, who is our new recruiter, I keep calling you new, to be able to make sure that we shore that up. So it's an all hands on deck approach, and we're seeing significant gains. We in fact had 20 people in a new class in this room yesterday. So our goal is to be able to come back to you and chomp away at this pretty quickly. I'm going to speed through this one. This is our NPS. I kind of explained this to you. How likely are you to take our service? Environmental justice. This is the idea of equity within the communities. We'll get back to this in a moment. Sorry about this. Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hand this over to Aaron for a moment, who can mention anything I may have missed in the success outcome scorecard. He's going to go through each one of the 4 areas and be able to explain to you where we are this quarter. And again, this is quarter 1. And then we're going to talk about the vacancy fill rate for a moment, just so you understand where we are and what the current statistics are. Because remember, this is quarter 1, and we're in a different quarter now. So I don't want to have you leaving here thinking we're in as dire straits as we may have been on this the slide. Also, keep in mind that any reductions that we have in customer satisfaction are absolutely linked to our need to cut service as a means of manpower. Again, that's why I'm mentioning this, because we have noticed a dip in some of our customer satisfaction, and that's important. And that shows me that this works. That shows me that we don't have high numbers when we're not doing as well in the field, which makes me realize, again, that this is an important process to show us, honestly show us, what impact our operations has on our customer. So if we see a reduction across the board, even if it's a nominal number, we can immediately go ahead and identify what the issue is. And for us, it's a manpower issue. So if we have to start shaving away at trips and having people lose their on-time reliability, that creates an issue for us, and that's what we're working to attack.
Thank you, Ms. Birdsong. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Real quick, one thing I want to make sure we highlight and focus on here as we look at this is that everything that's identified as a definition of success for RTA is objectively measurable. This isn't about responding to the latest and the loudest. This is about understanding what data is telling us that's important to our customers and critical to the community. And this is the process by which we measure the implementation of our strategic plan. I always make this point when I'm here before you. There are organizations, that we all know them, that have strategic plans. Very few of them are actually bringing them to life. And RTA is committed to a system and process for bringing their plans to life, building ownership and accountability throughout the organization for the work that allows us to achieve the results you see, and also allows us to amend and adapt and be agile to changing the work if what we're doing isn't allowing us to achieve the results we desire. So that is part of what you're going to look at today. Won't spend too much time on these definitions. They're really more for orientation purposes and understanding things. So looking at the scorecard, you'll see right now at the end of the first quarter, towards the 100 points balanced scale that RTA is achieving, currently at an 82.9. If you recall, the last couple quarters, RTA was actually functioning in the high 90s on some of these opportunities. I think this reflects both the ambition and the thoughtfulness that the staff have put into to challenging themselves to raise the bar in terms of the outcome areas. You'll see definitely opportunities for growth in customer experience, community value, financial sustainability, really all across the board in each of the categories to focus on. I'll highlight, after George talks through the human resources, some of the feedback that we're really getting out of the customer satisfaction Net Promoter Score results, but definitely some opportunities for growth there. Also in the perception of access and what we're doing in the community is really a key opportunity. Continuing to strive on the implementation of our financial outcomes. And then last but not least, that workforce Net Promoter Score really impacting and influencing where we are with respect to our employee engagement objective. I think the key here is that when you see that there is opportunity for growth, your RTA staff is being transparent with you about where and how the opportunities to grow and achieve and perform to provide value to our community exist. This is not a group of people coming before you to tell you what a great job they're doing. They're talking about the work that they're doing, but also being honest that they can do better in what they can achieve. So we'll be happy to answer any questions, but want to invite George up here to talk about the work that is being done on that success outcome related to the vacancy fill rate.
Thank you, Aaron, Ms. Birdsong-Terry, members of the board. As Ms. Birdsong-Terry mentioned at the outset, our vacancy fill rates we track on our HR scorecard, they cascade up to our organizational scorecard. In particular, for our focus, we've focused in on bus operators, bus, paratransit, and rail, as well as mechanics, transit police, as well as non-represented positions as key functional areas for us to be able to track and make sure that we're making progress on as it relates to our fill rates. Particular to bus operations in rail and paratransit, as you could see, our results for the first quarter is a roundup of 86% between all modes, and we have another slide that we'll go through that basically points out each mode separately. But in short, as we look at the opportunity to close the gap for our bus operator shortage, as we've talked about before, some of these things don't actually happen overnight, but there's a lot of things that we do to try to evolve the ability to attract and retain people here at RTA. Specifically with regard to job fairs, one of the things that we are proud of and that we are most effective at is that we work with a number of the community agencies to get RTA into an isolated state where job seekers can see RTA and not see the multiple faces of many companies that might be at a job fair. So quite oftentimes we host job fairs where they're either on site for us or we go to places such as Ohio Means Jobs to be able to be the featured employer, so to speak. In addition to that, we've started to do a community campaign where we're going to have a job fair interview session for bus operators, mechanics, and all other positions in each community across Northeast Ohio. And so one of these slides shows a number of the agencies that span from east to west side, such as the Cleveland Public Libraries, Parma Housing Authority, and a number of other places that we're targeting to make sure that we can have our outreach as broad as possible and as deep as possible to attract the numbers of employees that are needed within the classifications. Is it on the next slide? Okay. This is actually an outlay of the things that we've done per month and things that we're doing upcoming. As you can see, we are not leaving any stone unturned with regard to where we would find employees. Particularly, as I've mentioned before, our best ability to attract seems to become where we're the featured employer. But even as we may have to go and compete with other employers, we will do that as well. Internally, as we're looking at attracting, we've also done some things with our union, with our ATU Local 268's cooperation. We've raised our training wage so that our training wage for bus, paratransit, and rail operators can be more competitive within the marketplace. We've taken that up to $17 an hour for people that do not have a commercial driver's license, and then it jumps up to $20 an hour for folks that do. In addition to that, we've taken a look at the retiree market. in particular our own retirees. And so we've had the opportunity to put in place a memorandum of understanding that would bring in the retiree at a higher wage, recognizing their years of service and recognizing their expertise with us from their past time at RTA. Particularly, we look at retirees that have some opportunity to either come back full-time or maybe they have that opportunity to come back in a part-time capacity. And every bit of those opportunities for people to come back will help us as we look to lessen the shortage here. Ms. Birdsong-Terry mentioned orientation yesterday. So as we look at current numbers, we track every class to understand where we're at from a training and people in training perspective. Yesterday we had 20 people that were bus operator bound to start training yesterday, and 7 that came in for transit police officers. Currently there are 45 people in our bus operator training mix, and that is growing every 2 weeks. Every time that we go through some process to bring people through the organization. So again, as you see these numbers as they were in April, they are certainly on the move up. Our standard is that we can become very effective at bringing people in. We also are focused on how do we make sure that we retain them. That's very important as well. Retaining them so that long-term we have the workforce that our passengers need, that our communities need, that our employees need.
Hi.
Yes, Ms. Moss.
Through the chair? Through the chair, can I go?
The floor is yours, sorry.
Yes, thank you. So I think both Ms. Birdsong, Terry, and you are aware that because I've been worried about our workforce for quite some time and how do we broaden our net and not keep doing the same. So we had 144 vacancies for operators at the end of March. How many do we have now? I know you say you have 45 in this class, but we also have retirement. So now, how many? It's the end of June, so really our quarter is over. How many vacancies do we have now?
Yeah, we can get that exact number for you, Ms.
Like
Moss.
approximately is fine.
Approximately, it's probably in the 140 range. Recognizing even as people come through the training period, they go through about 8 to 10 weeks of training. So as they start to cascade out, it makes some difference against that number. In that same time frame or in that same period, there are people that end up leaving the RTA for any number of reasons, whether it be retirement, resignation, or promotion, what have you. So probably in the 140 number.
I guess as we're like tracking this and being data oriented, when do we foresee being fully having all the operators that we need? Like, what's the goal? I mean, of course, you want to do that yesterday, but realistically, what should we be tracking this against? That okay, this is our situation now, but when can we expect to be fully staffed?
Yeah. So as we look at report outs, we should certainly be able to come back and look at a fall report out and a winter report out. I believe as much particularly as we have measured on our scorecard, as we get to the fourth quarter of 2023, we'd have a best opportunity to understand if we're at full capacity or not. Our goal is to be at least 95% by the time we get to the fourth quarter, 95% of capacity. 30 operators per month, at least 30 operators per month, and trying to reduce that number of people that are going out per month. That will target us to that 95%.
And one more follow-up question is, so, as we're trying to, expand our net where we're looking, and I see that we are trying to do that, and I appreciate that. What are we seeing as our results? Where are our people coming from? Are these places, these new places that we haven't necessarily been before, whether it's Lorain County or Cuyahoga Community College Fair, but I don't know if you're doing both campuses, if you're doing or all 3 campuses, but where are your new people coming from? Are they coming from just basically the old sources, or are we actually going to other, are our efforts successful in expanding our net?
We will take a deeper dive into where they come from because we can see that information, but in anecdotal terms, we see them coming from every part of Northeast Ohio. And so even more the reason why we said, okay, let's expand even further. To your point, as we've talked about the various communities across Northeast Ohio, we've said, okay, let's expand to every type of event. Let's expand to every area. We've gone even beyond Cuyahoga County to Lake and Lorraine. And so we can report back on, perhaps some specifics on how those sources did, or, what level of numbers did we get from some of the places that we just haven't been before.
Thank you.
Just to be able to add on to that for sure. So I think, Ms. Moss, you asked a good question. We've had a lot of conversations on this too, so I think this is really timely. A lot of the newer areas that we're going into, so you mentioned Lorain County, for example, and our planning team, as well as our marketing folks, have gone out and had conversations with that area as well to think about partnerships. That's just an example, and how we can serve that community in ways that we haven't before. And quite honestly, the communication, I'm looking at Natoya, who I know was in that meeting, has been very robust. I think Joe Freilich was also in that, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Mary Beth Feek. And the need really hadn't been uncovered. So I think that that's a really good point to say, hey, these are areas that may not have normally thought about RTA as a resource, or there's new employment opportunities that we can take their folks to, right? Those community members who are looking for new employment, and then thereby look at RTA as a potential employer for them. So what we'll do is those conversations are very new. I would imagine over the next probably 2 or 3 quarters, we can come back to you and have a little bit of an update every time. So we'll keep this on the docket. What I want to do is be able to look at the scorecard and have, for lack of a better term, a pop out, I guess, or a deep dive into 1 or 2 items that may be impacting the business line, and this is one of those areas. Just as a matter of information, I was doing a little bit of calculation with Luke back there. These are approximate numbers. Bus operators, our vacancy is around 125. And again, we were in the 140s, and this is understanding that we have classes coming through. They have to get through probation. They have to get through testing and training and all of that. So we like to be able to be pretty conservative. But we're around 125 for bus operators. Paratransit, we should be down to about 9. And that's after kind of shaking through this newer class. Rail operators is about 12. Mechanics is 29. Transit police, we were at 23. We have 7 that are coming in, so that we're reducing that. And then non-bargaining, we're almost where we need to be. I think 22, and that's just vacancies that have been around for a little bit longer that are harder to fill due to the market. So this is the information that I've got for me, but it's always so that you have a high level view of what's going on. And again, this is a sensitivity point for me, being the leader of this organization, because if we don't have the bodies to be able to fill the seats, the very important seats of driving, we don't have service. So we wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I'm gonna actually ask Aaron to be very quick and thorough so that we can get back on track. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very important strategic conversation regarding that. And so one of the other areas just to focus on trends that we're looking at over the last 5 quarters, our Net Promoter Score. So what is our customers' willingness to recommend our service to friends and family members? An interesting trend, and we want to understand, is this a blip? Or are we going to see this level off? You can see that we were trending for fixed route, BRT, and rail on an upward climb, and then had a pretty significant dip in the feedback that we received in this most recent wave. Paratransit, want to highlight, they are well above the industry average in terms of their Net Promoter Score. And doing this quarterly allows the team to get feedback that is meaningful, to take action and put in place strategies to try and offset and impact that number. You can also see that trend is reflected in customer satisfaction. We do not have a customer satisfaction number this quarter for paratransit. So what does that mean? What is the information telling us about the key drivers of analysis and focus? These have been relatively consistent, and the RTA is putting strategies in place, but this is about our customers' perception of on-time performance. So while our operating data may tell us that we're running on time, our customers are perceiving that it's not on time. So that is a communication strategy done in partnership with the operations strategy, and we see safety continue to emerge across all nodes, both the perception of safety riding the bus as well as the perception of safety while waiting, and so continually working with our public safety team as well to make sure folks know the opportunities. So the team has been adjusting and adapting their tactics operationally and their communication strategies related to that. So we're looking forward to seeing the results in August. We'll be back to share Q2 results with you all and hopefully see the team start to make some progress and headway on those numbers. Happy to answer any questions and have Ms. Terry with me as well.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee?
To the presenter through the chair. Thank you for all of this information. I think it's really impressive how much RTA is tracking and paying attention to input from employees, from riders, and in terms of general operations, it's really helpful to have insight and be strategic about improvements. Just wanted to raise one additional thought around the workforce, and perhaps this is for a deeper dive, but it seems like the retention numbers are pretty strong, although the Net Promoter Score is lower than we would all hope. And I do wonder if the employee surveys shed some light into potential strategies for improving that operator and employee experience. It seems like word of mouth is also a very strong recruitment tool. And given the ambassadors that we could potentially have out in the community promoting vacancies that we have, I wonder what we might do to enhance the experience or the feeling of positive employment experience among those who work here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Berkman, thank you for that statement there. I'd actually forgot to mention one of the other things that we're executing on and working with our marketing communications team this week is an employee referral program. So we've had some employee referral programming in the past, specifically for this time around. We're asking our employees to focus on our need for operators as well as skilled craft, the skilled craft positions, the mechanical positions. So there's an employee referral program that's being rolled out and communicated to our employees this week, and we certainly know that we will see some boost in numbers of employees that come to our organization from that fashion too.
Any questions or comments from the council as a whole? The board as a whole, I should say? No? Good. All right. That's our agenda today for this committee. So it doesn't need an approval. So I'm going to move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
I want to call to order the Board of Trustees meeting. Certainly glad to see Mayor Tony here today because he was called to jury duty, but he evidently won the toss of the dice because you're here. Good to see you.
For today.
For today. Thank you so very much. May I have the roll call?
Okay, Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Mr. Joyce.
Here.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
President Lucas.
Present.
Ms. Mersman.
Here.
Ms. Moss.
Here.
Mr. Sleesman. Mayor Weiss. And Ms. Welch.
Here.
We have 8 board members present.
Have a certification?
Mr. President, I first advise that notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and that the usual notification has been given to the news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you very much. Now time for public comments. Anyone here? We'll start with people here, then we'll go to the phone. Anybody here with a public comment? Anybody? All right.
Good morning, everybody. This is a comment on behalf of another advocates for our public transit, Larry Rodriguez. You have known him. He has been here often, but he had to go to attend another meeting at the Cleveland Site Centers, so he had to leave early. He would like to address the issue that still our rapid station, he will use the West Park rapid station as an example. The level for people to be able to go between the rapid and the buses, that area is still really not well attended and not well taken care of. So for the people to use the rapid station when they want to go down to change to the bus to go to their true destination, it's not clean, not safe. The safe is also, I'm not talking about violence kind of safety, but also the health part of the safety issue. When you go through the area, if the area is not well attended, the air quality, the floor can be slippery, all those things can actually increase the chance for people to get injured, which is not good for the rider, not good for GCRTAs. So this act can also apply to lots of other rapid stations we have. So he would like the board to recognize this issue for all the riders, because currently our paratransit riders, some of them would take regular buses as well. So this will be an issue really we should pay attention, because that's everybody's safety and health. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Anybody else here in the room for public comment? Anybody else with public comment? Who do we have on the radio or on the telephone?
I think we have a few people on the call, right?
We have 3 callers on the line. Caller phone number ending in 820820. Please go ahead.
I just had to check this Negro in the board meeting here in Metro. I'm talking and he just starts talking right in the middle of my talking. I said, excuse me, when you get done talking, I'm going to talk.
Okay, you could go ahead, Reverend Pinckney. We're listening.
Oh, okay. Oh, good morning, everybody. I was calling to let you all know about an event I'm having on Friday in the LeBron James room at Chase Bank at 50 South Main Street in Akron for mothers, moms. During my walk and my political campaign, I've been finding that the needs and the respect of mothers is still not what it should be. And I have an event, and I would like some representation from any civic, civil, community organization to supply resources, education, communication, and just resources for mothers, moms. And I wanted to ask you a question, because it's real muffly sounding. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I want to ask you a really serious question. How much money is being spent in policing in this budget, and why? Because I believe that we should be having more money for meeting the needs of people, so we don't need police, not for more guns and violence. And I'm going to leave it at that. If anybody needs to reach me, you all know my number is 216-548-0820. As I travel on this campaign trail for President of the United States for 2024, I would love if Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority would partner with me to meet the needs of the community and the people. Have a blessed day.
All right, next.
Okay. Caller extension 0387, please go ahead.
I'm going to be requesting some additional time to get to what I wanted to say about the 15A and the 48A. I'm addressing something that was mentioned by India Perry, Aaron Bingham, in reference to wanting to get more drivers. So I wanted to say that, talk about that before I get to what I was calling about. If you want more drivers, truly, at a high level of professionalism, truly, then you're going to need more advocacy from the public. And in order for you to get more advocacy for the public, there's some things that are going to have to stop. You're going to have to stop being tricky with the public. You're going to have to stop using maneuvering, entertaining marketing schemes in place of conveying accurate assessment of facts. And in addition to that, you're going to have to stop being evasive with the public. That's what you're going to need, because that's where that's how you get your advocacy from the public, when they know that you're a truthful organization that is heavily invested in efficiency. There are people like me who have access to people in the city and around the country and can convey the well-being and the good taxpayer service of public transit, if they have something that they can look at and say that these people will be truthful with you if they employ you. But if you're not going to be truthful with the public as customers, then there's no real reason for us to advocate for there to be more drivers for an agency that's run the way that you guys are running it. The number 15A gives extra service to the following route if you pay attention, and that extra service will ultimately become good standard service. It gives good service to the 15 on Harvard. It gives good service to the 48 and what should be the 48A at East 131st Street. It gives good service to the blue and green line at Shaker Boulevard. It then gives good service to the number 50, the 48A, and the 40 at Martin Luther King Boulevard, and the entire street of Quincy Avenue where the number 11 runs, until it then becomes more service to the 15 at Community all the way over to Cleveland State. This hourly run bus and a
Thank you for your comment, sir. I'm sorry, but you're over time. Next caller, extension 5841. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dante Taylor, and I would like to see how can y'all get back the trolleys that used to go around from what's that, near Harbor Shopping Center, all around, and everything else in front of businesses and all that good stuff, and everything else, and we need more. We need restrooms in these bathrooms in these train stations because when you go into the elevators, they are horrible. They smell like everything but the kitchen sink in there, for real. And they need to be cleaned, and these elevators need to be cleaned and everything else, because they urinating and everything else in them, and everything else. At all of them, and everything else. And God bless. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Is that it, sir?
And that was our last caller.
All right.
Do not have any web form comments.
No web comments? All right. Let me go back to the approval of the board minutes for May the 2nd. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much. May we have an approval for the board of May 16th? Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. We now have a list of committees, chairpersons. Do any of you have a report at this time? Any of you have any reports from the number 7 through the number 12? If not, we'll call on introduction of new employees, announcement of promotion. Ms. Fields.
Yes, good morning, President Reverend Lucas, members of the board. It's my pleasure to announce to you our new hires and promotions for particularly our first part of June. We will start off with our new hires. We have Marquita Gibson, Administrative Assistant, Ibrahim Masood, Financial Accountant, Amaya Heiselman, Marketing Intern, Eric Thompson, Transit Police Officer, Antonina Weems, Maintenance Planner. Now we have operators Thomas Morgan, Robert McLean, Lakeisha Ballard, James Bresnan, David Woods, Austin Tell, Anthony Doherty, Donovan Tabler, Anissa Rahman, Sue Sanders, Cameron Prettyman, Deidre Prettyman, Lee Stover, Ashley Mack, Ernest Crawford. We have Hostler Deshauna Hunter, Equipment Servicer Benjamin Beam, Damon Margita, Talent Acquisition Business Partner, Jerron Brown, Summer Intern. Now we also have Public Transit Development interns that are here with us for the summertime. Madeline Harwood, Alexandra Hahn, Lawson Nash, Brandon Bowles, Jacob Moore, and Sanja Venkataraman. For our promotions for June, we have Cassidy Carter for our Intelligent Transportation Systems Specialist, Alton Curley, Equipment Servicer, Derek Warren, Assistant Operating Instructor, Roy Strickland Jr., Senior Network Engineer, Latrice Thomas, Assistant Operating Instructor, and Lavelle Fairby, Assistant Operating Instructor. Please join me in congratulating these new hires and promotions.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. All right, there was a request for executive session. I understand the committee is referring that we will not need this meeting, and I will turn on, is there a motion that we
Do I do it when I table there?
table?
Shall I do it now? I can do it now.
We can wait until we get to the resolution.
Or I could just do that, we just take it out of order.
Yeah, the resolution is last.
Initially, we were going to have an executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official. However, I'm making a motion to table, and that is item 2023-47, due to the fact that the board's legal counsel has had an issue with his plane, and he is unable to be here, and we feel as if we would like for him to be here so he can do a good presentation to the board and the public, as well, well, I guess that's all. So we're delaying it based on our counsel's delayed plane.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay, we need a motion.
Second.
And a second. Okay, and I will call the roll just to be sure. Okay, Mayor Biassiata.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Joyce.
Yes.
Mayor Kumar.
Yes.
President Lucas.
Yes.
Ms. Mersman.
Yes.
Ms. Moss.
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman.
Yes.
And Ms. Welch.
Yes.
We have 8 to table. It passes.
All right. Thank you very much. Introduction of resolutions, 2023-41.
Authorizing contract number 2023-2 with Burgess and Nipple Incorporated for Project 19.63 Engineering Services for Special Bridge Inspections for a period of 24 months and an amount not to exceed $348,521.72. RTA Development Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department Budget.
There a motion?
Motion, Welch.
Second, Moss.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-42.
Authorizing contract number 2023-054 with Hill International Incorporated for Project 19.67 on-call construction inspection 2023 in an amount not to exceed $450,000 for a period of 24 months. RTA Capital and or Development Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department Budget.
There a motion?
I move to approve.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. And I say this each time, we are not rushing through these. These have already been committee. We've vetted them out. We've discussed it. So when it comes to this point, we're ready to move or not move on it. All right? 2023-43.
Authorizing contract number 2023-57 with Neo Building Construction LLC for Project 19.33 West 65th and West 117th RTS generators in an amount not to exceed $166,924. RTA Capital Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department Budget.
All right, we have a motion.
Motion?
Second,
Second.
Sleesman.
any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-44.
Enacting Chapter 1210 of the Codified Rules and Regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority.
I have a motion. Have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 No, thank you very much. 2023-45.
Authorizing the filing of grant applications, furnishing of additional information, and accepting funds from the state of Ohio for state fiscal year 2024 financial assistance under all state of Ohio programs.
All right, a motion?
Motion?
Second. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-46.
Authorizing the submission of grant applications, enter into funding agreements, providing assurances of other documentation, and accepting funds from NOACA for state fiscal years 2024, 2025, and 2026 for financial assistance in capital projects under all NOACA programs.
There a motion? Second?
Second Welch.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you very much, and we have tabled G. All right, we'll now hear from the Secretary Treasurer, who always delights us with figures and facts.
Good morning, Reverend Lucas, members of the board. My name is Raj Gautam. I am the Deputy General Manager of Finance and the Board Secretary Treasurer. I'm here to present the regular update and will summarize essentially the materials that are included in your monthly packages. We'll begin with a review of general conditions that impact our business. This slide's showing the inflation rate going back to January 2020, as well as the Fed interest rate. The annual inflation rate in the U.S. has increased from 2.5% in January 2020 to a high of 9.1% in June 2022. Since June 2022, the inflation rate has been falling. At the end of May 2023, inflation is down to 4%, and it's expected to continue to fall in 2023. This 4% is still higher than the long-term rate of 3.9%, and by long-term, I mean the rates between 1960 and 2022. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates again in early May 2023. Interest rates are now at 5.25%, which is at the highest level in 15 years since the 2007-2008 crisis. The Federal Open Market Committee is scheduled to meet again in July, at the end of July, to review interest rates. On this slide, what we are presenting is the information for comparison purposes of the Cleveland Metropolitan Statistical Area to the other large statistical areas. May unemployment data is to be released on June 28th. Overall, the U.S. unemployment rate was 3.4% in April. The total number of job openings increased to 10.1 million in April, up 358,000 from 9.7 million in March. Decreases were seen in manufacturing and professional and business services. Job openings increased in trade, transportation and utilities, retail trade, education and health services, construction, and financial activities. All of the MSAs experienced a decrease in the unemployment rates from March. As of April 2023, Cleveland was at 3.4%, which is down from 4.2% the month before. Cincinnati, 2.8%, down from 3.4%. Columbus, 2.8%, down from 3.4%. Dayton, 3.2%, down from 3.8%. And Toledo, down from 4.3% to 3.5%. A review of the ridership comparison for 4+ years from the pre-COVID 2019 data to current. The May 2023 ridership was 18.9% above May 2022 levels. On the right-hand side, when you look at the year-to-date ridership in millions, a quick comparison between 2019 and 2023 numbers indicates that ridership is 34% lower. On a year-to-date basis, we are 21.2% higher compared to last year. I'll start with the review on the right-hand side, the year-to-date passenger fares in millions. Pre-COVID, 15.75 million through the end of May. 2023, it's 10.92%. That is 4.83 million lower, roughly 30%. The May fare revenue was 11.3% above May 2022 levels, which is 9.1% over budget. Cash fares increased by 10.6%. UPass and student fare cards increased by 45%. And once again, since these are cash basis numbers, it's a result of timing-related issues as to when the UPass and student fare cards revenues are collected. Sales tax, once again, what we are presenting is information from pre-COVID 2019 levels through the end of May. June 2023 receipts, which is once again based on March 2023 activity, is 2.8% lower than June 2022. On a year-to-date basis, we are 5.3% higher than 2022 levels. 14 of the 23 categories were positive in June 2023 versus the year before. Online sales were 19.1% higher. Regular and statewide sales were actually lower at 4.8%. Motor vehicles and watercraft are 10.8% lower, largely a result of higher car prices as well as the higher interest rates. The last time we had a decline in sales tax was in September 2022, so we're going to keep an eye on it to make sure that if this is just a blip or if this is a long-term trend that we need to worry about. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions to the Secretary Treasurer? Anybody? Anybody? All right. There seems to be none. Thank you very much for an excellent report. Hearing now from the General Manager.
Good morning again. India Birdsong Terry. I will give you, let me go back a minute and not steal my own thunder. Let me give a quick heads up and a quick update for those board members and also staffers. When you come out of this meeting, if you haven't seen already, we did issue an immediate press release this morning by Bob Fleeg, our PIO. We were awarded a $3.2 million grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation. So wanted to be able to mention that without omitting that fact. That was awarded to us with the support of Senator Sherrod Brown and ODOT Director Jack Marchbanks. So that award was part of a bundle, so to speak, of a low-no grant to the Ohio Department of Transportation on behalf of 10 subrecipients. So again, we have $3.2 million, and that exact figure will be indicated in the press release. That will go to fund 6 new CNG buses. So we appreciate that. We appreciate the support of ODOT, and they're continually being able to reinvest in our community. So wanted to say that before I started off.
I do think we need to, on behalf of the board and the staff, congratulate the work that you've been doing. And certainly Senator Brown has been a true friend of Cleveland RTA and to be able to get these new vehicles in. So I think, board, we want to go on record as today thanking the staff and also send a personal letter to Senator Brown. Do I have the permission of the board by common consent? We send a personal letter to him thanking him for the leadership he's given for RTA. Is that common consent?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Go ahead there.
Absolutely. Duly noted. We'll make sure that we get that out at your direction, Reverend Lucas. Thank you. All right. Well, continuing in the good news, we just wanted to make sure you were aware that we're still moving after the high of the $130 million that we were provided by the FTA last month. We have the rail car replacement program team update. So what this means is that we're basically doing a road show with that team to be able to let folks know internally what's going on with the rail replacement program. As far as I understand it, I'm getting minute by minute or hour by hour updates from our procurement team. Melinda is smiling. I think that they are getting very close to be able to have the final sign off on that contract with Siemens. So Melinda, if you had any particular update for the board, just wanted to give you this moment to do that.
Actually, the Siemens has executed the contract after a lot of diligence on the team's part, and it's with us now. It's been in discussions yesterday with legal and myself, and it will be ready for Janet's review and then yours. So we have a few open issues, and we're completing them, and our hope is to have it executed shortly.
Fantastic. So nice work to the team. Thank you for that. And thank you again to the FTA and others to be able to support RTA in that endeavor. We would not have been able to, I think, be able to move at this speed without the last influx of dollars, so we appreciate that, and also your support. We have to always be able to table our expectations a little bit with a dose of realism, and that is mental health. We wanted to make sure that we also are talking to you about some of the things that we're doing for safety and security on our system. We mentioned that earlier in the traction report. And this is just one of the marketing efforts that are dovetailing into our safety efforts. So as you may have recalled, we have what's called a PTAS. There's a lot of acronyms going on in public transit. But that's our safety sort of meeting with our union, with our safety team, with operations, legal, a bunch of different folks to be able to think about how to increase the mental health and how to increase the safety environment for those customers. We are actually partnering with the Adams Board and also the FTA Safety Advisory, where we have these car cards, or these cards are posted throughout the system, as well as at the airport. And they're also being given to our zone supervision as well. Those are our kind of first responders that usually come in contact with those individuals that might be in the greatest need, as well as our transit ambassadors. So we'll be creating training for them to be able to understand how to identify those that may be contemplating suicide or need assistance just for overall mental health. So this is definitely worth the time to be able to mention, and we're more than happy to provide you copies of that as well, if you'd like to be able to think about how to move forward with this kind of thing in your agencies as well. Talking about policing on a high note, our Chief Jones, was featured in Cleveland.com, Plain Dealer, talking about women in policing. And this was really an interview that was created with a couple folks. She was highlighted to be able to talk about her experiences in being a woman of color, being a woman first in her area as a chief, also talking about equity and then hiring practices. Those are areas that are not falling on deaf ears. There's a lot of conversation nationwide, again, about manpower. Policing is not any exception. And so being able to have it come straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and really hear about her experience in the last 3 decades and then culminating in her leadership here at RTA was great. So we applaud our Chief Jones, and she's getting national exposure, which is awesome, as long as we keep her here. Also,
once again,
yes.
on that note, some of the board members will recall when we were interviewing and we were trying to decide on a new chief, the word went out from the transit police that if we picked a certain person, a number of them would resign, and if we picked a woman, they would resign. Shortly after she was hired, I went over and asked how many resignations had there been, and the answer was 0. So she really has taken them by storm over there, and we're very pleased. Just trying to find them a new location. You know, that's one of my pet peeves, to get them from that cramped situation they are, 55th Street, where it's hard for the general public even to come to make requests or complaints, and also that the main room is also their changing room, their lunch room, their dinner room, and everything else. We need to do a better job providing a better place for our police to be. Little editorial in there. All right.
Always appreciated, Reverend Lucas.
All right.
We do appreciate that, and we appreciate Chief Jones. And you're absolutely correct. She has done a great job at being able to restructure the transit police into a really community-focused transit police. We've always done a good job, but she's able to push it to the next level. I want to say that she's touted 100 community events within the last year. I think they went from 10 or 15 to 100, which is an amazing feat. So great job to the commanding staff as well as our deputy with Gettings as well. They've done a great job. Moving ahead to some other highlighted individuals, we've got Carl Kirkland and Kay Satula. So these are our two directors, respectively, over DBE and budget. They are the dynamic duo. They've gotten a lot of good press this year, and this is following in that vein with Mass Transit. Mass Transit Daily is a publication that really supports nationally the public transit sector, and they've been highlighted for their work in the disadvantaged business and equity field, and also the certification and eligibility area for compliance and how it affects the bottom line in our budget here in public transit. So great job to the two of them. They make a great team to be able to explain how DBE is such an important tool to make sure that we can expand our coffers and also think about new ways to engage vendors that may not have thought about transit as a viable option for expanding their business as well. So nice job, Carl, and nice job, Kay.
On that note,
I'm not going to move forward until you.
On that note, that's an excellent picture of Kay. That's a terrible picture of Carl. It looks like he's looking at something. So would you get a better picture for Carl than that?
That's the smolder.
Yeah.
That's the serious.
All right, go ahead.
I'll be fair to my team. Carl, do you have a rebuttal to that, sir?
I don't have a rebuttal. I will get a better picture.
Thank you.
That's the jet and ebony look. We appreciate that. Next time, have your ascot.
Reverend Lucas, that's my serious look. You know, I take this program very serious, and I take the position very serious when it comes to our small businesses, certification, when it comes to small businesses. So that's my serious look when it comes to the business of disadvantaged business enterprise.
I look forward to another picture, my brother. All right. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I will say that is Carl's look when he's on the virtual meetings, so we'll make sure to do that. Also wanted to highlight and give you just a quick recap. We had an awards banquet at the Holiday Inn Independence. Again, we haven't had everyone to be participating because we can only hold so many people in the room, but we did have quite a few of you board members as well to be able to celebrate, and I believe we gave out 45 or more awards. So again, a great event, and we're preparing Raj to be able to open the pocketbook a little bit more for next year so we can have a little bit more attendance. Thank you. Also wanted to be able to end on a high note with my presence today. We attended the American Public Transportation Association, otherwise known as APTA. We talk about that a lot. That is our national industry advocacy organization that really highlights all of the things we talked about. Workforce, it highlights economic development, highlights safety, security, operations, all of it. And we also have the Federal Transit Administration in normal rotation to be able to talk through how we can move forward as an industry. I had the honor to be able to serve on a panel in Pittsburgh representing RTA along with Veronica Vanterpool, the Deputy Administrator for FTA. I will say that Ms. Vanterpool started her career as an MTA bus driver in the Bronx in New York. And so she has a penchant for equity and a penchant for bottom-up thinking to be able to kind of encompass everybody in the fight to make public transit important. And then I will also say Dorval Carter, I know him as well. He serves as the current president of CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, and more importantly for this, serves as the president for APTA. and has been fantastic about making sure that RTA is getting on the docket with a lot of the items we talked about. Part of this, alongside myself, we had about 10 people in attendance. We had engineering, we had a representation from transit operations, marketing, a whole host, HR. We had a lot of folks there to be able to bring in the news that RTA will be hosting the 2024 APTA Rail Conference in Cleveland. So we are super excited to win the bid on that one. Go ahead and we'll take that. And part of what we did to be able to ring that in, they have a different location every year. And so Pittsburgh was this year, will be next year. I did approve that as long as they allowed us to come back and host in potentially 2027, 28, when we have the new rail cars. So I said, we cannot just show our old rail cars. You got to be able to come back so we can have a rags to riches story and be able to really highlight the investment of FTA. And so they agreed to that, and then we agreed to next year. We did have a video. I'll play it really quickly. It's about a minute in length, and that will conclude my report. Do I need to? Okay, all right, thank you.
Direct rail service from the city to an international airport. Yeah, Cleveland knows rock and roll, but we also know rail, which makes the Greater Cleveland RTA an ideal host for the 2024 National Rail Conference. You need a ride from the airport to downtown? We were the first in North America to have direct rail service from the city to an international airport. Want an easy way to take in our city's arts, culture, and vibrant neighborhoods? RTA has both heavy and light rails, so we have your transportation covered. Plus, as one of 6 agencies to receive the first round of rail car replacement funds, our commitment to making rail transit a part of the future has never had greater momentum. And it's how we connect you to everything Cleveland has to offer. From our finest restaurants, to our lakefront, to our parks, and back to your hotel. So join the Greater Cleveland RTA for the 2024 National Rail Conference, because our rail is ready to rock. Yeah, Cleveland knows rock and roll.
So that's what we presented, and everybody was super excited to come to Cleveland, so I think we'll have a good time next year.
You didn't mention I was there.
I was waiting on you to co-present. You're co-presenting my report today. Reverend Lucas also has an update from that event.
I'll start at the end and work backward just a few. I had the privilege of being at Pittsburgh to make the invitation. This is really going to be an exciting time for us. We got a lot of work to do for 2 reasons. Number one, when you're hosting a national convention, that's a lot of work. And then Pittsburgh really did a job over there. And they have a booklet that I want to make sure the board gets a look at that Pittsburgh book that they did to show what we've got to go after for our ads and so forth, and then to have them here next year. Then moving back to the award ceremony, we do want to be, I have had so many positive comments about the award ceremony. Also, I've had people saying they wish they could have been there, but the number was smaller than it needed to be. So next year, we want to make sure that we have a larger room, larger budget, so that we can, because you had people who had good driving. I got a list this long of people who called who have no accidents or this, that, and that. I felt they should be recognized at the annual, so I wanted to do that. Also, we also know that Lauren Welch is the permanent MC for that event. She's already bought her gown for next year, so we're looking forward to that. But again, thank you, Indy. You've done a great job of pulling all this through, and to the staff, all of you, I work with you constantly, and so pleased that what you're doing from every department. I would mention one department, that wouldn't be fair, because I have to mention all of them. Of course, I have at my right hand or my left hand, whichever you want, say it's Teresa, and she's right there moving along with what we need to do. So thank you very much, and I will ask any old business, any old people with any old business, any new business, any new business, any new business. If not, we'll have public comments from anybody who's here. Public comments on transfer-related items. Come right on up. Glad to see you. We usually ride on the trolley together. Good to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, Reverend Lucas. Whoops, except I'm messing things up. And thank you to the board, Brian Gibbons, Ferry Park, Ohio. I had more of a question, which had to do with the traction study, is that you do get variances from quarter to quarter, but that's also based on who you're polling, correct? So that, just so for people watching and that sort of thing, the ups and downs, don't necessarily mean cheers or jeers. It's the long-term trend that you want to look at with regards to that. I haven't had to do that in the past. I just wanted to make sure that was the case here so that people don't freak out or all of a sudden set off fireworks, that there's still a ways to go, but the trends are right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else here? Anybody else here? Come on up. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I heard about this meeting that was going on down here today. It was on a flyer when I was at a festive event. So it's just a short question. It's not long. It's nothing to it. But the seatings that they have on the buses, I mean, I enjoy riding the buses because I go places. Like when I leave here, I got to go to Dave's and pick up some things. But anyhow, are those seats on the buses going to remain plain or hard plastic, or what? How long will that be?
All right.
So first, thank you to you both. I will say, Mr. Gibbons, you're absolutely accurate about the trends. We appreciate you noticing that, and our consultant is nodding his head furiously behind you. And ma'am, I did not catch your name.
Ms. Townsend.
Ms. Townsend, thank you for being here. We actually have our district director, Nick Bigger, who can also give information if I'm not accurate, but the answer is yes, we will continue with the hard plastic seating. Okay. It's the preferred seating for cleanliness, if I can say that, and easy for us to maintain, and hopefully it makes your ride more comfortable so that you don't have to worry about liquid and other dirt and grime that might be more difficult to get out of the cloth seating, due to our ability to maintain them a little bit easier. Nick, am I? Okay.
Okay, because I usually bring my little cloth with me to sit on, but it's okay.
Hopefully you won't have to do that, but they will remain in the plastic seating, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, good. Thank you for coming down. Anybody else want the public, come on up.
Hi, everybody. Good morning again. This time I'm talking on behalf of myself. I'm glad that we will have another quarterly results about our survey. If you remember that a while ago, Noble, a grassroots group, we actually conducted a paratransit survey during the pandemic when it was a heavier time. And we were so happy that later we got a chance, our director for paratransit actually made a presentation to the board on behalf of Noble. And at that time, I did suggest Since that particular survey, all the questions reflects directly from writer's point of view, instead of like this particular survey, it's more from administrative point of view. And I remember Ms. Burson-Terry at that time said, we will find a way to incorporate this kind of point of view into the survey to have a better pictures, which will help us out to have a better data for the trends and for the future improvement. However, up to now, I have not really seen the question from these pages to reflect that yet. I guess it will take time because consultant definitely don't want to lose the consistency of certain things. I know there will be something. However, if you look at some of the things it says here, that still reflects the serious issues among paratrans writers. We did mention that in other board meetings before. For example, people still cannot do cancellation at a real time. So when you get marked as a no-show, you will be penalized even to the suspension. You cannot utilize the service at all. So I wish this part of the situation, we can still take care of it, and changing the survey questions will help that out to reflect the reality too. Thank you very much.
All right, anybody else here? Anybody else here? I don't, make sure I can't see around this TV piece here. All right, then let's go to the telephone. Anybody on the telephone?
Online. Caller number ending in 5841. Please go ahead.
How are you doing? This is Dante Taylor, and I would like to see how the circulators can come back to Cleveland. They were very valuable to our community out here, and you've got to make this much easier with the training with them and everything else. And I hope that we cannot increase our fare. The fare is too high right now. We don't need no increase on fare right now and everything else. And God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we also have caller number ending in 0387. Please go ahead.
Starting from Cleveland State during the 16-hour period, Monday through Friday, if the hourly 15A can run and share a common route with the number 15, which should be slowed down to every 20 minutes at minimal, in place of every 15 minutes, they'll share a common route up until they get to 40th and Quincy or 40th and Community College, where the 15 will break out. At that point, the 15A will share a common route with the right now every 30-minute number 11 bus, giving more service to that area up Quincy, cross around 105, up Cedar, until it shares a common route with the number 48 and what should be the 48A and the number 50 on Martin Luther King Boulevard. Be clear, the 48 and the 48A for a 6-mile period will run the exact same route, which means most of the people are getting on and off in that 6-mile period. Then the 15A goes down MLK, comes up Shaker Boulevard, shares service with the green and blue line, and then picks up more service at 131st, in addition to Shaker Square, rather. And I want to add this before I get into the 15A sharing a common route with the 15 once it picks up on Harvard. If this 48A is an hourly bus with the hourly 48 and the hourly 50, which should run over to Marymount, then you don't need to run the 48 every 30 minutes because it has 30-minute service north of 131st and Miles, and it has 30-minute service south of 131st and Miles, because the 50 will share the exact same route going over to Marymount once it turns off Miles south onto 131st.
10 seconds, sir.
This is more efficient. This is completely more efficient. In addition to that, you'll be giving people more service nonstop from the East 177 South Miles to the 131st Street Library, Shaker Square, and point further.
I'm sorry, sir. You're over time. Thank you for your comment. And that was the last caller we had.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody on the web?
No one on the web forum.
No one on the web. All right, the next regular board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 25th, here in the board meeting. This meeting will be live streamed, and it will also be on the meeting date time. Public is welcome to attend in person. We'd be glad to see you. If there's nothing else, may we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, any discussion? Never debatable. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
No noes. We are adjourned. See you next time. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for using